Hello, I'm Alana, and in this video I'm going to show you the painting process of this little portrait. It's a geisha from the Ghost in the Shell live action movie, and I just love the character design and wanted to make a little tribute to it. The face is a cast of a 3D printed model I made myself, and I sculpted the hair with epoxy sculpt. The background is a simple piece of MDF which I have sewn into a hexagon. I primed the sculpt and background already with the white Vallejo surface primer, applied with an airbrush. I will do the rest of the paint job with acrylic paint. I'm painting the white face white again, because the white acrylic paint is slightly different than the white primer. First I will block out the biggest parts, so I will paint the hair before I start on the details. I use acrylic paints of the brands Amsterdam and Winsor & Newton. I only used 3 different brushes for the whole paint job. This flat one, a small detail brush and a super small detail brush. After most of it is covered in black, I switch to the smaller brush to do the outer parts, because I don't want any black on the face or on the background. When the whole hair part was painted black, it was time for the eyes. I'm still working with the smaller brush so I can work very precise. I turn around the sculpture all the time because sometimes I can't reach it from the right side. I carved lines in the cast of the face with a sharp sculpting tool. In the movie, the geisha's face can open up to reveal a super cool robot skull. The lines are just the spaces between those parts, and I'm going to paint it black with the thinnest detail brush I own to create depth. I did make some mistakes. But because I applied the white base color with acrylic paint, I can just easily go back in with that same white color to correct those mistakes. After I cleaned my brushes, it was time to add some color to this face. I didn't sketch out the pink shape on her face with pencil first. If I would paint over that pencil line with my pink paint, I can't erase that pencil line anymore, and it will probably be visible underneath the paint forever. So I'm just winging it right now, as you can see. But don't worry, all painting mistakes can be fixed. The trick with acrylic paint is to work with very thin layers. So I water down my paint with a lot of water. It's really important to wait until the paint has fully dried before you apply the next layer. Otherwise you will just wipe away the previous layer with your wet brush. In total, I applied 4 layers of pink paint. That red line was very hard to get symmetrical, and it didn't go well in the first try. I had to correct it a few times, but eventually I got it right. Here you can see me trying to fix that black line. I made it wet very carefully and wiped away the paint with a paper towel so I could try it again. Oh man, I need a little break. These precise parts can be so nerve-wracking to paint. But as I said, all mistakes can be fixed. The only thing you need is a little patience. I take pictures of the project to capture the progress, but also to be able to look at it from another perspective. When I looked at the picture at this stage, I didn't like the pink shape on her face anymore. It really annoyed me, so I decided to adjust the shape just a tiny little bit. I was a bit afraid to do this because I already applied so many layers, and acrylic paint tends to build up at the edges because you push the paint over there. But after 4 very thin layers, it looked alright, and I was so much happier with the new shape. Because I sculpted so many lines in the hair, it's hard to reach every single nook and cranny with paint. So I had to go back in with black again to paint all those white spots that were still visible. I also applied the background colors in very thin layers to get the smoothest result. Oh, and did you already notice that I'm a perfectionist? Because when I looked at the reference again, I didn't like the shade of pink I used for her face. So I painted it once again, but with a little bit of a yellower pink. In total, I applied only 2 layers for the color correction. But it looked so much better, also in combination with the red background. I wanted to add a little bit of that turquoise of her hair ornament somewhere else in the background to balance out the colors a bit more. In the movie, she wears a kimono with a blue rim, and that inspired me to give the circle a little turquoise rim. Between the red and the turquoise, I made a small dark grey line, just to tighten things up. For the rest of the background, I wanted a dark color, but not the same as her hair, and also not really black, so I decided to mix my own grey with the primary colors. Because color theory is fun, guys! And again, I applied 4 or maybe even 5 very thin layers of that grey color. I wanted as less brush strokes as possible because the subject is a super sleek robot. I wanted everything as tight and smooth as possible. As you can see, I'm not easily satisfied. I just had to make that turquoise rim narrower over there. And now it's time for the last and tiniest details. I could have done those before the background, but sometimes I just need a little bit more time to mentally prepare for stuff. In this case, those tiny details. I gave the face a bit more depth with my soft pastels. These are from the brand Rembrandt. I used the color that came closest to the shade of the pink, only darker, and brushed it gently at the sides of her nose. It adds just a tiny bit of depth, but it really adds something for me. Underneath her eye, she also has some eyeshadow. I used a little piece of tape so I could get a sharp edge. Let's peel off the tape. And tada! Super sharp! And with that, the paint job is finished. The only thing left is to seal everything. I'm going to use these 3 varnishes from Vallejo. Because I applied some soft pastels, I'm going to apply the first layer of varnish with my airbrush. If I would use a brush, I would just brush away the soft pastels. I will apply the rest of the varnish with a brush. I brushed some matte varnish on the face and the satin one on the background. So I was brushing away, and in the end I created too many brush strokes for my liking. I decided to give it another matte layer with the airbrush. But that also meant I had to varnish the hair again. I was a little bit too impatient. Sometimes you need to think a bit better about the order of things. Oh well. And after I gave the pink part 3 coats of glossy varnish, the portrait was officially done. And this is the end result. I am really happy with it, and I hope you like it too. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. It was a bit of an experiment and I would love to hear your feedback. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next video.